Hi, this is Svetlana from Cosplay, and today I'm going to show you how to build the Majora's mask from the Legend of Zelda. This video is a collaboration with Dremel, and they asked us to show you how to work with the rotary tools and create something cool. And I thought the mask would be a perfect example for that, since it has like really nice details, a great texture, and is just a fan favorite, I think. So today I'm going to show you everything from start to finish and even how to install lights at the end. And if you need some help with crafting, you can check out my books on cosplay.com. Here, for example, this is the book for foam props, and it's full of helpful guides and tutorials. And in addition to that, you can also find the pattern for the mask in my shop. So you just need to follow this video and then you can make your very own one. And now let's start crafting. As always, Benny began by searching for good reference images on the internet. Based on that, he sculpted a 3D model in Blender. Then, as you can see here, he simply used the UV unwrap of his model to create some foam patterns, printed these out on paper, and handed them to me so I could begin with the crafting. So I cut out the paper patterns, traced all of them to 5mm low density EVA foam, and then cut these out with a sharp box cutter. So far so good. After I was done, I began gluing all parts together with contact cement. As you can see, while the individual patterns were flat, the more I glued, the rounder the shape became. Connecting both sides was a little bit tricky though. For additional shaping, I also sanded on an angle to the back and attached this heart. This way the mask became a little bit rounder. Nice, so far so good. Now to the eyes. I grabbed some translucent LED foam and began cutting out the shape. While the material could be bended with some heat and one of my acrylic half spheres, it helped much more just to cover the edges with glue and force the foam into the eye socket. It actually took me a few tries to get it right, but in the end it worked out. The second one was done the exact same way, and with this the base shape was complete. Nice! Zelda was obviously not impressed. Now, since the next step is actually adding some textures, I thought it's about time to talk about our video sponsor, which is Dremel. And as you maybe noticed in some of my videos, I'm working a lot with EVA foam and also dremeling a lot. And like my favorite Dremel is actually the Dremel 4000, which I got from Benni as a Christmas present a few years ago, which was really sweet. And in addition to that, I'm also working with the flexible attachment shaft, which allows me to use the Dremel like really comfortable, and I can hold it just like a pen, so I can work like very precise. And then I just mount everything in this really handy Dremel tool stand, really great. And if you want to go with something more powerful and especially cordless, you can also use the Dremel 8220, which is, as you can see, really massive. It's also really strong and it's cordless, and it also has some other nice little extras. If you prefer a smaller machine, I also highly recommend the Dremel Lite, which is a little bit less powerful but also still really great. And for tiny little details, I often work with the Dremel Stylo Plus, which is also just like a pen and like really great for engraving and like tiny little details and everything. So basically, as you can see, there is like a Dremel for all of your needs. And in addition to that, you can also find like all kind of different like attachments and like tips and everything, like to create all kind of cool textures and effects and everything. I just love the Dremel. And if you want to check out their tools as well, just click the link in the video description. And now let's start crafting and turn foam into wood. First, I marked which direction I wanted my wooden texture to flow along, and then I grabbed this grinding stone tip for my Dremel. With this, I just loosely followed my markings and sanded in some vertical lines all over the mask and eyes. As you can see, the Dremel is just amazing for texture work. Good. Now let's create the spikes next. The patterns for these were also exported from Benni's 3D model, by the way. I simply traced them to 10mm LED foam, cut them out and glued them together as well. To make sure the glue dried properly, I added here some duct tape. Next, I cleaned up the gluing seams, dremeled in some additional lines, and then heat sealed the material to smooth everything out. Easy peasy. In total, I created all 10 spikes just the same way. Finally, it was time to attach them. Finding the right position was a little bit challenging though. This was also the point where my mask finally began to resemble its iconic look. See, cool, right? Now time for more detail lines. To make sure I would glue everything to the right place, I first marked all areas with a pen. I grabbed some 5mm half-round foam dowels, all product links in the video description by the way, and they were just perfect for this application. Just a bit of glue here and there, and I placed them all around the eyes, along the spikes, and over the cheeks. I also put another flat 2mm strip on top right here and marked where the decorative holes would go. I'm almost done. But I totally love the mask already. There are still a few details missing though. To carve in the holes, I simply used a carving bit, by the way, super easy. The square-shaped depressions got then cut out with my little scalpel cutter. Awesome! Now it was finally time to add some LEDs. I was really excited for this. To place the LEDs inside the spikes, I cut out these holes here on the inside. Then I grabbed some LED rings in different sizes and soldered them together. If you're wondering how all of this works, I do have separate videos about this topic on my channel and also wrote a whole book about it, so please check these out. Anyway, after I was done, I had 2 strands of LEDs, one for each side. Oh, this will look amazing at the end. To fix them properly to the inside of my mask, I cut out a few circles of Worbla thermoplastic, glued the LEDs on top of them, and then placed these at the right spots. I even integrated a chip that tracks movement and a speaker. So when I shake it, it plays a sound. Super creepy, right? But also cool. Good, now onto the priming and painting. To hide some of these foam seams, Benni first applied a bit of flexi filler. Then he covered everything in 3 thick layers of flex bond that he tinted with a bit of brown acrylic color. The eyes and spikes obviously got covered with clear flex bond though. Making the mask was actually Benni's idea, so he was really happy he could finally paint it. So let's start with some airbrush color. The paint application of the LED parts needed to be very thin, or otherwise the lights would not be able to shine through anymore. So Benni first applied some yellow, then orange and finally red around the eyes. The spikes then got brown shadows and a colorful tip in blue, green and red. Super pretty. Now for the iris, Benni first marked the position with a pencil and then painted everything by hand with black and green. In case you're wondering, we were using Liquitex heavy body acrylics here. Benni had to mix and match quite a few colors, but I think he got just the right tone for the purple, the red and the green areas of the mask. A good paint job is super important for every prop, but especially for such a colorful one as this. Plus, I'm really happy Benni has such steady hands, since I would have a hard time drawing these fine lines. Anyway, the last step for him was to follow the wooden texture with dark brown color and he could finally seal his work with a coat of matte spray varnish. And done! How do you like it? I'm honestly surprised because it turned out even better than I expected. Especially the paint job looks really cool. And when I turn on the lights, it's so pretty, I love it. Well, it's pretty and super scary. Super creepy! I really hope you like this little making of crafting tutorial and you like the result of the mask. I think Benni did an absolutely amazing job and I totally love it. It was super fun. And again, don't forget, you can actually find the pattern for this thing here in the shop, so you can make your very own Majora's mask. And in case you have any questions, just write me a comment down below in the comments. And if you don't have any questions, but still want to support us with the YouTube algorithm, just write down Corgi and join the Corgi Squad. And again, thanks so much to Dremel for sponsoring this really cool video. It was super fun to create the mask. It was really a joy, and I also hope that that you are convinced now to get a Dremel yourself, because it's a really cool tool and it's one of my favorites, and I totally love working with the Dremel. And yeah, as always, thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. And also thanks so much to all our Patreons for supporting us. You can also check out us on Patreon as well. And other than that, see you very soon in the next video. Bye bye! And finally, thanks so much to all our super sponsors on Patreon. And these are /Cosplay, Ethan Makes, Guillaume Kritzmann, Jessica Burden, Joachim, Lisa, Luisa Perez, Baloops, Nif, Nikolai Matok, Nicorazo164, and finally, Roar! Thanks so much, and also thanks a lot to all our other Patreons. You're amazing!